What if I told you that there's a room in Graceland that hasn't been touched since August 16th, 1977, the exact day Elvis Presley died? A room so private, so personal, that even today, nearly 50 years later, it remains completely off-limits to the public. Behind a velvet rope at the top of a staircase lies Elvis's most intimate sanctuary, frozen in time, with his belongings exactly where he left them on that fateful morning. Today, we're going inside Elvis Presley's secret rooms to uncover what was really left behind after his death. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, lived his final 20 years at Graceland, his famous Memphis mansion. While millions of fans have toured the downstairs since it opened to the public in 1982, the upstairs remains a closely guarded secret. Even when Elvis was alive, these private quarters were strictly off-limits to all but family and his closest confidants. But what exactly is hidden up there, and what shocking discoveries were made after his death? Let's start with the layout of this mysterious space. The upstairs of Graceland houses several rooms: Elvis's master bedroom, his bathroom where he tragically died, his office, his massive walk-in wardrobe room, and Lisa Marie's childhood bedroom. These rooms span approximately 3,500 square feet of the mansion's second floor. According to those who've had the rare privilege of entering, mainly family members and a select few Graceland employees, stepping into these rooms is like entering a time capsule. Now, let's talk about what investigators and family members discovered that painted a darker picture of Elvis's final days. When authorities entered the room after his death, they found evidence of the king's desperate battle with prescription drug dependency. The toxicology report revealed traces of 14 different drugs in Elvis's system, with 10 present in significant quantities. All were prescription medications. Perhaps most shocking was the discovery that, in just the 8 months before his death, Elvis's personal physician, Dr. George Nicopolis, known as Dr. Nick, had prescribed him approximately 10,000 doses of various medications. Investigators found 3 syringes and multiple prescription bags near where Elvis collapsed, suggesting he was taking medications at 8-hour intervals. The medicine cabinet in his bathroom was described as looking like a pharmacy, filled with amber-colored vials with white caps, each bearing Elvis's name. This tragic evidence revealed the hidden struggle behind the glamorous facade of the king of rock and roll. But it wasn't all darkness. Among the most fascinating discoveries was Elvis's personal collection of TCB jewelry and memorabilia. TCB stood for Taking Care of Business, Elvis's personal motto, often accompanied by a lightning bolt symbol. This phrase was so important to him that he had an entire room dedicated to TCB items. In this room, investigators and family members found multiple versions of his famous TCB rings, including the original 14-karat gold nugget ring with raised diamonds that he designed himself, TCB necklaces he gifted to his inner circle, known as the Memphis Mafia, boxes of unworn TCB pendants he planned to give as gifts, design sketches for new TCB jewelry pieces he never got to create. Each piece told a story of Elvis's generosity. He was famous for giving expensive gifts to friends, employees, and even strangers. One TCB ring alone was valued at over $500,000. Another startling discovery was Elvis's extensive collection of firearms and law enforcement badges. Hidden in various drawers and display cases throughout his private suite were over 30 firearms, including gold-plated pistols, his famous gold-plated pearl-handled Colt 45, Perhaps the most poignant discoveries were the signs of a life interrupted. In Elvis's office, they found unfinished songs and recordings, handwritten lyrics for songs he was working on, cassette tapes with rough demos he'd recorded in his bedroom, sheet music with his personal notations, a list of songs he wanted to record on his next album, personal correspondence, unsigned contracts for future performances, a half-written letter to a fan, birthday cards he'd bought but never sent, a Father's Day card for Vernon Presley, his dad, dated for 1978, the bedside table mysteries. Several books were found on his nightstand, revealing his final interests. A book on the Shroud of Turin, multiple books about spirituality and the afterlife, medical texts about his various health conditions, a worn Bible with extensive personal notes in the margins. Most heartbreaking was a note he'd written to himself about losing weight and getting healthy for his upcoming tour. The tour was scheduled to begin just 2 days after his death. Elvis's massive walk-in wardrobe room revealed the extent of his legendary fashion sense. Found exactly as he left them were over 200 jumpsuits, including several he'd never worn in public. The famous American Eagle jumpsuit he wore for the Aloha from Hawaii concert, his extensive collection of jewelry, including rings for every finger, capes and belts studded with thousands of precious stones. But here's what really struck those who entered. His clothes for August 17th, 1977 were already laid out. A casual outfit, nothing fancy, just what he planned to wear the next day. His shoes were placed neatly beside the outfit. It was as if he fully expected to wake up and continue with his life. In the drawers, they found receipts for clothing orders he'd placed for his upcoming tour, including new jumpsuits that were being custom made. One receipt was for a jumpsuit featuring 10,000 rhinestones, but was supposed to be the most spectacular costume ever created. So what's the status of these rooms today? According to Graceland officials and the Presley family, the upstairs remains exactly as it was on August 16, 1977. Only a select few people have access. Priscilla Presley, certain family members, and a handful of Graceland security and maintenance staff who signed strict non-disclosure agreements. The rooms require careful climate control to preserve everything. The curtains remain drawn to prevent sun damage. Security cameras monitor the area 24/7. Even the dust is carefully managed, cleaned just enough to preserve the items, but not so much as to disturb the time capsule effect. Angie Marchese, Graceland's Vice President of Archives, has stated that the family treats the upstairs as Elvis's private space, just as it was when he was alive. The decision to keep it closed isn't just about preserving mystery, it's about respecting Elvis's memory and his need for privacy, something he struggled to maintain during his lifetime. Will the public ever see these rooms? The Presley estate has remained firm. The upstairs will remain private indefinitely. It's a decision that both frustrates and fascinates fans, adding to the mystique of the king of rock and roll. Elvis Presley's secret rooms at Graceland remain one of rock and roll's most intriguing mysteries. What was left behind tells the story of a complex man, a superstar who struggled with fame, health issues, and personal demons, but also someone who was generous, creative, and planning for a future that would never come. These preserved rooms serve as both a time capsule and a cautionary tale. They remind us that behind the glittering jumpsuits and sold-out concerts was a human being who, like many artists of his era, paid the ultimate price for fame. The fact that these rooms remain untouched nearly 50 years later speaks to the enduring power of Elvis's legacy and his family's desire to preserve not just his public image, but his private humanity. What do you think? Should Graceland ever open the upstairs to the public, or should Elvis's private sanctuary remain private forever? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of music's greatest mysteries, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more untold stories from music history. And remember, some secrets are meant to be kept, but the stories they tell can still teach us valuable lessons. And remember, the king may be gone, but his legacy and his secrets live on forever. Until next time,